There we go. Hi, everybody. Therek, you want to chat? Say hello to everybody? No, desktop audio is not working either. Let's see. That's weird. Here we go. I got it. Can you guys hear now? I don't understand. Yeah, you're there. Everybody's there. All right. Started to panic. Everybody thought the sound was on their end. So there was no sound. That means there was no sound the whole time we were talking during the pre-show, which is hilarious, by the way.
We were just talking to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Guys, listen, we don't claim to be professionals. So
no, not by a long shot. Not even close.
Well, welcome, everybody. We were chatting with you. I thanked everybody who followed us. I guess we'll do that again because a ton of people followed us prior to even starting, and we thank you for that. We love to give a shout out on stream for that. So yeah, we were sitting there in the chat. OBS sometimes just decides to go to default on like microphones and input, and I guess it went to that, unfortunately. So what that did is made all my settings just go to default for some reason. So as we always do, tonight is dev stream recap. I always do that with Therek because we try to put together everything that we see very quickly. Therek typically takes a lot of notes. I try to get screen caps. I do have some of the screenshots from the stream tonight that we'll go over. And for those of you that haven't been part of Pantheon PlusYou before, or this is your first time, thank you for the cheer. You're able to come on this show live. Okay. All you have to do is type !Discord, and that will get you into our Discord. It's a really fun community. We're a little strict on not attacking each other and like having real discussion, and it's gone pretty well, Therek, I think.
Yeah.
But if you look,
so far so good.
Yeah, I haven't gotten crazy yet in there. But there's a voice room called the green room. You can see it right above the live room. And that green room, if you go into there, that says, hey, I want to come on the show. I want to talk about the topics on hand. I have a question. Whatever it is that you guys want to discuss, you're able to come live on the air with us and chat. And don't worry, there's a ton of people, Therek, who have told me, I want to come on, but I'm nervous. It's super chill. We welcome on every opinion as long as you're respectful. Don't like come on and like ruin our stream. But other than that, as long as you're respectful, like honestly, we got you. Don't worry. Come on, be you, and we'll have some fun. Right?
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. It's easy. I was nervous the first time I ever called in, but like ever since, smooth. It's easy to do.
All right, so let's get into the news and notes. Therek, do you want to start because you were taking a lot of notes, or do you want me to jump in? What do you want to do?
No, I can start.
Okay, go ahead and give us some recap in your notes. I might jump in from time to time to just talk about them, but go for it.
Yeah, so I divided them up into sort of like, I think there's three main areas that they covered. First being they talked about PA5, and then they went into the, sort of reviewing the death mechanics that came out last week and sort of clarifying those a little bit. And then they did the patch notes, and those are sort of miscellaneous, sort of all over the place. I mean, so if we just sort of go in that order, I mean, they talked about PA5 first, and they said next week so the big thing is obviously next week they're going to announce the date for the PA5. So we now have a date of announcement for an announcement. So, and they divided it up into like three phases of the PA, of the next PA. So there's going to be the shakeout, and then there's going to be like the focus testing, and then the full open play sessions. That was sort of my understanding of it. Is that what you heard too, Minus? Is that sort of fit in with what you heard?
Yeah. So there's going to be a really small, like, here's exactly what we want to get data on session. And then I guess later we're going to get sessions that are hopefully, more organic. They kept using the phrase, and I think they answered the question, which also got me in trouble, about like the feeling of progression, right? And let me be very clear to anyone in VR who might be listening. I have never been a part of a pre-alpha, so I can't speak from experience. I just want to make sure. I'm going to be banned. Guys, I'm going to be banned. I'm going to need a new name in chat. Can you guys give me my new name I will go by when I'm banned? I'm going to have to wear a mask on stream. That's going to be crazy.
It'll be Elf something. That's your new name.
What's the elf from Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I'll just be Legolas XX. That'll be my alter ego.
Yeah. So they said that this PA, like the sort of the full playthrough, is going to be different from the past PA phases. So that's what you were getting at there, and because they were sort of thinking you'd been involved in the past, so it's going to look different, which is kind of interesting for us as viewers to see this, because we know what those have looked like. We don't know what this is going to what this experience is going to be. So something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think
One
of
of
the
the
two
things-
classes that they said are for? I mean, they kind of said that at the end of all, like the real PreA5, that we're going to have all access to all the classes with all the abilities.
Yes.
But it looks like we're going to start with Shaman and Dire Lord, which we've seen a lot of Shaman. It's obvious that that's been done. And I think was it maybe 2 or even 3 dev streams ago, one of the first classes that was done in the new system, like their new node-based style of system for the abilities, was Dire Lord. So we've known that Dire Lord's been done for a while, and we've seen this Shaman stream footage to know that's done as well. So it kind of makes sense those are the 2 classes, even though I definitely would have liked to see a rogue.
Yeah, when I heard that, I wasn't disappointed, but I mean, it's what we've come to expect is we know which classes they have the most complete at this point. I mean, it's fairly clear that those 2 classes we've seen a lot of going back quite a ways, right? 2 years we saw co-play that Dire Lord, I think, in Helner's Cave. So yeah, it is what it is. But then, like you said, they go further into the next phase of the next PA. It's going to be all classes. They said classes coming in their complete state,
which is
pretty
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah,
and making sure, because they want to make sure that they function together. Like they want to get a good sense. I think what they said, get a good sense of how the classes grow and how they sort of fit together. They want that to be so that's exciting, because that's a big. I mean, in my mind, that's a big milestone to have.
Yeah, and there's a ton of people out there too that have been clamoring for like Shaman info. I'm sorry, Summoner info. So to hear that all classes are going to be available with all their abilities, I think that Summoner fans are like, well, what about Beans about Summoners? Well, that's kind of indirectly Beans that class is ready to go. Now, I don't know if that means that the pets are going to be fully functional. I guess time will tell on that, right?
Yeah, but, there will always be like little exceptions to the rule. I'm sure, like it's not going to be 100%, but they understand that. I think what came across in the stream was that they understand that they need to go beyond the classes we've seen, and they need to show some classes we haven't seen at this point. So,
I agree with that. What else you got?
Another thing that they said was that a lot of the systems are going to be in this PA session, right? So there's going to be climbing is in, and they said, Droppa talked about it being gamified, so adding in, I think what that means in my mind is adding in the endurance aspect to it. So it's not just a free sort of cost-free endeavor. They talked about
they've actually talked about that and hit on that quite a bit, Therek. I'm really happy you brought that up, because I think it's a general misconception across I don't know how to put it. It's a general misconception across the community, I think, right now, like that what climbing is going to be and like how abused it can be. And we've seen it a lot without limitations on it, right? So because it hasn't had limitations, it looks like it's something that can be abused. But I think once we see it with endurance limitations and leveling, remember, climbing is something that's going to need leveled. We haven't seen it in that form. So I think that's really going to put another kind of a staple on why climbing is going to be so important. Leveling is going to be important, and how it's going to function in the game. We've seen it in such a raw form to this point that, like you said, gamifying it, I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, because we want, and so that, I think that'll be something that the testers, I mean, in this phase will probably spend a lot of time doing, is just seeing how it works, seeing how it functions as a system that they have to account for.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was really interesting, actually, in this one for me was the faction. They talked about being more than just whether something's aggro, like whether an NPC is aggro towards you or not aggro, right? It's not like it's so much more than that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, what I heard is that this is going to be in for this next pre-alpha phase.
Yeah, something about it. I took a couple of notes on that. They said from a faction standpoint, it's going to sort of be on display, but also like how NPCs interact with each other as well, which is an interesting concept. There was a story a while back. I think we told it on a Pantheon PlusYou, but some dev had told a story on a Roundtable or something. I apologize for not knowing exactly who it was, about when they first activated NPC factions. And they said they went into the game and all the NPCs were just killing each other. They were like something happened and it just went chaotic, and like the whole world was at war. And it was I would have loved to see the look on people's faces in the development team when that occurred. But so there will be NPCs that dislike each other, and the faction that we gain for certain things will cause the NPCs of that faction to dislike, proportionally, which is cool. I'm excited to see that. I think everybody from the EQ era has wanted a more meaningful faction system for quite a while.
Yeah. So Joppa went on to talk about like the more faction you have, the more an NPC might open up to you, right? More tell you different things, might, and they said that they referenced something from really a stream a long time ago in the village of Demeth, right outside Thronefest. There's a faction based experience of some sort out there. So I think that's what he was referencing there. I think that's interesting. It's going to be more than just you're either aggro, you're either kill on site here or you're not, right? It's just way deeper than that. And then the last thing that they talked about was this boss encounter. They said that we've seen some aspects of this boss encounter in recent streams.
It's definitely going to be sleepless, right?
That's what I was going to say. Do you think it's the sleepless fight? I'm not.
Yeah. Sure. So small spoiler. I put it out in the Pantheon Plus Discord today. Therek, you saw. Therek was commending me on the stream prior, to this. Wow, you're really. I'm surprised you're able to sit back with the information you have about what we're going to be releasing over the next few weeks. But I actually spoiled it in our Discord. I put out the cover images for the next 2 videos we're going to be putting out. And I'll put them back in there for anybody who wants to see them. I'll do it again here in a minute. But the reason I bring that up is because when he said we're bringing a boss fight in, and it's going to be highly, the climate stuff's going to be in check, and it's got to be sleepless. I've done a ton of research on climate, acclimation, artifacts, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about all month. And I think the hints that we got were enough for me to be very convinced that, yes, this is going to be the sleepless fight that we're going to be able to experience.
So that'll be cool. I mean, it'd be interesting to see the testing when we get to see it, if they do, streaming, that kind of stuff, showing it off. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see this sort of being taken from a non, scripted standpoint, so to speak, if they allow for that kind of thing.
I just threw those 2 images as spoilers into the Pantheon chat in Discord. So
yeah. You guys, that the videos that we're working on for that stuff, they're awesome. I can tell you that you're going to enjoy them.
Should be a good time.
Yeah. I mean, so at the end of the day, what I sort of summarized was saying that it sounds like they have a lot of the systems in place for this next phase, a lot of new systems that we haven't seen before. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Looking through my notes, you hit on a lot of the stuff here. They've really, a lot of the talk was that they're really proud of where the combat system is coming, and that's really important right now. So I'm excited to see what that looks like, right? There was a great question brought up by, and I forget their name and I apologize, started with an S. Great question brought up about streaming. Are we going to see streams of, PreAlpha 5? And obviously it's not going to be these short test bursts, but, more so talking about when we get to these organic gameplay where we're talking about progression, are we going to see people playing it? Or is there going to be streaming? And I was really happy that they answered that question. Obviously, I have a stake in that, wanting to be part of that and fighting to try to get some game content out there to play the game and show you guys would be amazing. But Ben was really cool in answering that question. And he said, yeah, it's going to have to be controlled. Completely understandable. It has to be, right? So I understand that.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in hopefully more streamers being able to show the game off, have genuine reactions. I think that's what's important. It's not just seeing it. It's seeing people excited about it is contagious, right? And I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, that's the attraction to a lot of the past streams, has been just sort of the natural sort of experience of what it's going to, because that's what the closest that we're going to, it's the closest to the experience we're going to have is just general sort of people, right? Players wanting to play the game. But the couple of things they highlighted in terms of the things they still need to do before they do the shakeout, they talked about the ability system a little bit. They said that they need to give NPCs the abilities that I guess they need to have, and add them as population to the places that are going to be available. So that sounds like a big job.
Yeah. But they did say I agree with you, because at the beginning of hearing that, I'm like, that's a lot of work. But then they did conclude by saying it's almost done.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, because I was with you at first when I heard, well, we still have to work on getting all the abilities into the NPCs. At first I was like, that's a lot of work. But yeah, at the end of like saying that, they kind of casually just said, oh, well, that's pretty much done. We're wrapping that up, which is important. So
yeah, it's so hard to hear like all these things that are you're interested in, right? And then know that you still got to wait a little longer to see it. I mean, I'm whatever. It's not a big deal, but it's like showing you this nice dinner, right? This nice, awesome dinner. You can't wait to eat it, and then saying, "Oh, we're just gonna put it back in the stove for another half an hour. You'll get it soon." It's like, oh.
And I'll show you guys the screenshots in case you missed them. We'll have the screenshots come up. There's 3 screenshots they showed, which we will show you, and they were very like, these are in-game screenshots, no doctoring, no just screenshot. Here they are. Pretty impressive. We'll show those in a minute here. But in talking about that, they went over the death mechanics again. I wish I would have screen capped. I don't know why I didn't think about this until now. When Joppa like turned to the side because he wanted to talk so much about de-leveling openly, and you just saw this look of like, oh, I want to talk about. I wish I would have screen capped that because I'd put it right up on the screen right now just to laugh. He wanted to talk about that. Is probably one of those topics when Joppa gets going on the why, the theory. It probably would have went on like we love Joppa to do, where it's just this deep, in-depth theory craft and psychological in-depth view on why and where it's at and what they're thinking. But I do hope we're going to hear more about that soon. It sounds like we will.
He nodded a little bit. I mean, if you're reading body language, I mean, he did kind of turn his head and be like, but I don't know if that means like, yes, I want to talk about it, or yes, you will be de-leveling. When you die, you can de-level. At the end of the day, what they said, not reading the body language, was they're undecided and testing is going to determine this. I think I think that was actually said, is that we need to determine this yet. It's not decided.
Yeah, for sure. A couple other things that I caught onto that I thought were pretty important. Crafters. Where are my crafters at? Nefel, I know you're out there. They will be able to repair durability damage. That's a huge thing. Huge. Not many games have that. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think there are. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in terms of MMOs. I'm thinking single player games that. Yeah.
How does
I want to talk about this a little more on the rewind on the weekend. I got a lot of thoughts about durability, but the fact that they said crafters will be able to repair gear. I know they have a lot more they wanted to say about that. That was made clear. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's. I don't know.
So great bring up. That's where I was going to go. Me Tanky said, is there any more detail on that? So no, not a ton of detail, but he said, and I kind of wrote this here, the manner of how and what will be discussed later, but there's an interesting way to handle this. And he said, other than just making like repair kits and handing them out. So that actually excites me because that's what I don't want to see. I don't just want to see, just selling repair kits and there's a million of them on the auction house type of thing. I would love for it to be like they actually have to physically be there with materials. So like if let's say and this is theorycraft, and this is not what VR is saying, hear me out. This is just my opinion on it. If you're like a tailor and someone's wearing cloth armor and it gets damaged and you're with them, you should have to have like the materials on you needed to stitch it or do whatever, like logically what you're going to do. Right. So instead of having like kits made, you actually have to have the mats in your inventory. You then put it in a window and they can repair it partially or whatever it'll be. And I really, really hope that's what it is, which would make it more bound into the crafting system than just making an item anybody can use. Like the crafter themselves is valuable, not the item the crafter makes, if that makes any sense. I think that should be the way they do it. But we'll see. If he's saying it's going to be interesting and different, I'm all for that. Let's see. Silent Plains was mentioned a bunch of times. Yeah. It's a new area.
Yeah. The thing about Silent Plains, they said grandfather thorn. So if anybody out there knows what grandfather thorn is, let me know.
Yeah. Blocking was done on grandfather thorn. Nobody said anything about that in chat. Am I behind? Do I not know what that is? Because I've never heard that before. Something new. Yeah. Let me just double check here because we're going to get into the green room. We have a really packed green room tonight and there's still room. If you want to jump into the green room, come on live on the air and chat with us, please do. ! Discord will get you into our Discord. And all you got to do is jump in that room. Oh man, Zinix just got Zinix just got the picture of Chris's face in the Discord. So if you are in the Discord, you can see it. Zinix just posted it with Chris making like a, I want to talk about this face. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's really good. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about, but I think that, talking about the perception system. They talked about how, like the part of the full gameplay loop is going to be perception. They talked specifically about how like perception's really going to be like this really good layer to the keeper. Like it's not just going to be these pop-ups. Like there's going to be this sense of feeling when you get these pings and the way they're doing them and the way it's going to be. I'm so excited for that.
So here's this might be the highlight of the whole stream for me. So Joppa said the keeper has an ability that we haven't seen yet that allows him, what he said was, quote, see through the veil, right? Mm-hmm. They haven't shown this yet. That's awesome. You know, I want that from day one. You know, I want to work towards that. I want to get that ability. Because, you know, I sort of like the way my mind sort of visualizes it is sort of like the Matrix, you know, seeing the code, you know, like you don't see the world anymore. Now you see something, you see what makes it up, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, sounds super cool.
Keep talking because I'm getting Joppa's picture up on stream here.
I want to go back to the death mechanics for a second.
Yeah, please do.
I thought they made a really, really good point about sort of some of the talk that's gone on since they had that announcement. People, you know, saying no naked corpse runs. I'm disappointed about that. And I think what's not being taken into account, and this is what Joppa said, was that, you know, they're designing the difficulty level to such a degree that if you had to do a naked corpse run, you'd never make it. Like you're screwed is basically what I thought, what I wrote down when they said that. They said no gear, you're screwed. So you got to keep that in mind, that you're using information. When you say I really am disappointed there's no naked corpse runs, you're using information from a different game to just, you know, to sort of put that into context.
Yeah.
You don't know how they're tuning Pantheon. So.
And guys, like, I'm going to keep saying this. I've been saying it for a long time. And listen, Minus is not always right. Actually, if you talk to my girlfriend, Minus is probably less right than right. But I'm still going to stand by my opinion that Pantheon is going to be much harder than EQ, guys. It really is. Yeah. Because EQ was bound by the new. Like, it was hard because it was new. It was hard because we were younger. We'd never experienced anything like it. Don't take away what experience is. It's like driving when you first drive is difficult. Now we drive, we don't even think about it. We barely even look at the road. We're on our phones and doing stupid stuff. But when you first start driving, it's hard. So when we first started playing MMORPGs, which most of us who played EQ, that was our first, it was hard. Because there were these things about the game that were just you to discover, right? There weren't infinite resources out there. You had Drac Attack just said graphics, lag. The lag was. Could you remember when you had to fight in a hallway? You couldn't even see anything.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
No, we were fighting a lot of different enemies back in those days. It wasn't just the monster in front of you. It was a lot of different things.
Oh, Link dead. Oh man, but we got the picture. You guys see it up there. That's Joppa's face immediately after he wanted to talk about de-leveling and he wasn't allowed. And look at Ben Dean's face. I think Zinix, you did a great job with this. I know you're out there. And Zinix is in the green room, so he's gonna come on. Look at Ben Dean's face. I think Joppa turned because he didn't want to look at Ben's face. Look at that. Ben's like ready to take Joppa out, guys. We were gonna have a new, creative director if Joppa.
Somebody needs to make a meme, right? That's prime meme material.
Right there. Drac, it's all you, buddy. Yeah, Drac, right there. That's the Ben face. This is that's getting clipped. Everybody clip that. That's the Ben face. That's fantastic. I love it more than anything. Okay, Ben Dean in his official flannel shirt. There's a VR logo on there. You just can't see it. It's below the stream. Okay, so before we're gonna get to the green room, you are next. We'll give an idea of who's coming on here in a second. Jump into the green room if you want to chat. You guys can vote in the section on the right there. Before we do, let's go ahead and check out some of the screenshots, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. These are in-game, undoctored screenshots, and let me be clear that when we saw them, number one, they're on a stream, so the quality's not as high. That's just how it works. And then this is a screen cut. It's not a screen cap. So my picture is even worse than their picture, which is worse than the actual picture. So remember that. But I think it looks great. Yeah.
They looked pretty good. The best one was the third one, in my opinion, with Nehu, and I think, right? Is that her name? Anyway, with the drolling.
Yeah, I'll put it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. That one was great. I think it gave a really good perspective. And when Joppa was talking, when that picture was on the screen, he was talking about seeing different paths and understanding that it's not on rails. There's no corridors. Like you're very wide open in terms of, what you, where
true
you see
open
you go.
world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
and then with climbing and everything else. So what I love about like the screenshots, and I'm going to show the other two here in a minute. When Pantheon was first being shown, and I've been on record to say if it would have came out with like the original graphics when I pledged back in 2018, or I'm sure even some of you who were earlier, we probably would have played it anyway. But they obviously changed their vision on graphics quite a bit. And at first, it was this really high-end like realism that they were trying to hit. Like that was the big thing, right? But as they've gone into Project Fairthale, there's a lot more stylization. And we're on episode 41 of Pantheon PlusYou. On episode 1, I believe, we talked about graphics. And we talked about the importance of realistic graphics versus stylized. I think that they are finding the middle ground to that in such a beautiful way. Because of how much I look at Pantheon screenshots and art and in-game footage that we get to see, I feel like if I'm shown an area I've never seen before and I don't know it's Pantheon, I'm going to know. And that is a really important thing when it comes to the game in the future and having this look. And it's also stylized enough that as graphics improve, it's not going to look dated, because I think stylization really helps with protecting from a game dating too rapidly. I think when you're too realistic, the new graphics come out, the next engine comes out, and you look dated instantly when you try to be super realistic. I think the stylization, you guys can see it here, the coloring, the textures, it's very stylized, and I think it's the right way to go, and I'm really excited about that side of it. So
yeah, I think it's in a good place. I think they've developed an identity, a signature look.
Yep. So here's another one. This one's beautiful. I know it's a little more jaggedy, but look at the character. Doesn't it look like that's drawn onto the screen? Like the character's not actually there. That's a real in-game screenshot.
Yeah, I like that one for the color of the sky and the sun. I thought that was it's a nice perspective shot.
Look at the lighting. Look at the lighting on the character model. It's unbelievable. Like I'm not trying to like be like the ultimate Pantheon shill that everyone already probably thinks I am anyway, but like the character there looks amazing.
If you remember back to the stream with Ko when they did the quest with the old one sort of thing, this pond, I think it's the same pond, I could be wrong, but it was, if you look at that stream, the pond is actually not, the water is like black. It's not colored. It doesn't look, they haven't done what they needed to do with it yet. So this is like a evolution of that, like some development. You can see the development.
Yeah. I just think it looks really, really good. And then here's the last one. So you can see what's her name? I can't even remember. I'm so bad with that.
I think it's Nehu. I think is the name of the Spriggan there, the tree / Spriggan. But I love this picture so much. This I even think that they've made improvements on it since that stream that I mentioned with Ko when they actually went up and talked to her and stuff. It looks quite a bit more detailed, and there's just a nice perspective in this picture. The sun shining through, and I would use this as a wallpaper.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's funny because we saw this a lot from the other side, like coming, if you look at the back of the picture, it was coming to her. So we're seeing it from a different angle. You know what the style is? The style reminds me of like a water paint, like sort of like no, not a water paint, like an oil paint. I don't know what I'm thinking. It feels like a painting. And it reminds me of, if anybody's ever seen the movie What Dreams May Come, this is like way out there. The movie with Robin Williams where his wife dies and he dies and he goes to find her, blah, 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 blah. There's a section where he walks through a painting she painted. And as he's walking and touching the flowers, they like rub a paint onto him. I get that vibe of like you're playing in a living painting, which is pretty cool. I'm actually pretty excited.
Really nice.
Right.
I hope they post these screenshots on the website. Just
so we can get like a 4K. Yeah. I think when the new website hits, and we didn't really talk about that. The new website's coming. For anyone who wonders why it's not here yet, because we did hear a month ago that it was a few weeks off. They're digging deeper into what they want to put in there. And that's fine. I mean, get it out in the best form you can, because everyone's going to want to rush to it. So I haven't, Therek, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I know that that's a huge pain point for the community, and I understand it. It's never really bothered me. Maybe for the pledges, like I can understand if you want your friends to pledge and you want to send them to the website, you want it to be cleaner. I can understand that aspect of it, but I've never been like new website with pitchforks. I don't know if you have.
No, me neither. But then again, they did show it last time. So again, it's like they gave us the teaser, right?
True.
Now I need
Deliver.
to see it.
Yeah, deliver if you're gonna get. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you ready for the green room?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I do want to say thank you to everyone who's followed us tonight, who's subscribed. We're up to 34 subscribers. That's the most we've ever had. Thank you guys. And thank you to people who are out there gifting. It's awesome. I mean, and you know, we try not to sit here and talk about our subscriptions and tell you to subscribe in a lot of our videos. We barely say it sometimes here and there. So we do really appreciate that, guys. Like it's super cool for you to help. Like we have a lot more coming than just streaming with the site and everything else. And we got the new developer on our team for front end development. Like there's a lot coming. So everything you guys do to help like give us that extra boost of excitement, I do appreciate that. And we're at 598 followers, almost at 600. So thank you guys. It's awesome. Okay, so let's go. Let's bring in Erikai first. What do you think?
Oh yes, bring in Therek.
Therek, yeah. This Erikai and Therek have merged into one person. Therek, if you want to drop your headphone mute and your mic, and as soon as I see that, I will bring you in from the green room, sir. There it is. Here he comes. Erikai, welcome in, man. How are you?
Hey there.
Hey, man.
So what'd you think? I mean, what are your thoughts on the stream? I mean, it started a little slow. We kind of didn't talk about that, Therek. It's the vibe was real like we're on a stream and
100%, yeah.
But it picked up. It really picked up. So, Erikai, what are your thoughts on everything?
I don't have a lot to comment about the PreAlpha news being not a VIP. It just kind of glosses over me because I just don't experience it. So when they talk a lot about what PreAlpha is going to be, what it's going to entail and all that kind of stuff, I just sort of
makes sense.
I don't really care that much about it. The screenshots were really good. Like I don't know if you saw, but I asked in the chat. I said, "Did these get like some kind of filter put on them in Photoshop after the fact or something like that?" Because I was really impressed. And if those truly were fully in-game screenshots, I was really quite impressed by those.
Yeah, Ronak said no. He said no, they weren't adjusted at all. So
yeah, I heard, and I was just, I don't know, I was really impressed, and kind of lends a little bit more credence to the tree I've been barking up for the past several months of, see how polished this is. Let's go.
Yeah, no, I know, right?
There were a couple people that asked the questions, is this going to be the last PreAlpha? They didn't answer it. They didn't bite on it. But everyone, that's kind of the next question after all this ends, right? Because I think a while ago, that was the thought. That like PreAlpha 5, alpha. A lot has changed since then, like a tremendous amount. But
I'm still of the mindset that it is the last one. I mean, maybe I'm fooling myself, but I don't know. I think that I've seen so much. I think we've seen enough to make me believe that they would be in a place where they could move into an alpha phase. But what do I know, right?
Ben Dean's looking at you right now because you said that. Ben Dean's really upset with you right now. Look at that.
Sorry, Ben.
Joppa wants to talk about it, and Ronek's just enjoying the ride. But so what else, Eric? Anything else stand out? I'm sorry, what?
The bean that Ronak dropped. Oh, I just realized I'm cutting out when
No, you're good. You're good now.
I just said, how hilarious is the bean that Ronak, quote unquote, dropped about there may be something else that's been redone.
Yeah.
That's a great bring up.
Ronak. That was a great bean.
That's a good, yeah, good job. It has to be Hellner's Cave, right?
Somebody said that in chat, and I hadn't thought of that, but it yeah.
What do you think, chat? Chat, light it up. I mean, when you heard that something else in the game has been moved. I mean, we've seen Hellner's Cave so much, and I can't imagine them moving.
Did they say
Amber
moved?
Fate?
Did they say
updated?
I think
I guess.
Yeah, I think what Ronak said was Black Rose Keep is not the only zone that's been changed. So I don't know whatever that means, but yeah.
The Orc Camp. Yeah, it's really an Orc. Yeah, Hellner's Cave feels like that's what it'd be. Because, and again, we're going to talk about that. Obviously, with the 2 screenshots we put for the next videos we're putting out, Hellner's Cave is going to be featured in one of them. And they talk specifically that the fight that we saw there was sort of like a testing fight, and that it was going to change quite a bit from Nashara. So it's
Right.
possible that they changed quite a bit of that zone to keep it.
So Ronak just corrected. He said yes, not moved, changed. So
Changed.
whatever it is, whatever place we're talking about, has not been moved. It's just been changed.
Ronak, you aren't up to the bean level of spillage that Joppa is yet, but keep working on it.
Yeah, he's working for us. He's like our bean prodder in the.
Yeah,
amongst the
he's
devs.
trying. Listen, and that's all we care about, Joppa, is that you're trying. Erica, what'd you think overall? Where did you vote in our vote there? What did you think of the stream? Where did it put you?
I vote a little bit let down.
Okay.
Just kind of overall, I was just like, okay, it was another thing. I think by calling it state of the game, I think I expected a little bit more meat.
Okay.
Instead of just what to me seemed like
Yeah.
dancing around some
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
I
some things that people really want to know.
Yeah, I can see why. If I was voting, I haven't voted yet, but if I do, I think I'm either going to vote neutral, probably neutral, but I could be convinced to vote a little let down too, just because it was like for the reasons that you said. I think that's how I'm feeling as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't mean for that to come across as
No,
like
no.
I don't want them to do them anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's just I think they have done better, and that's okay too. You know, I'll still be here next time. It's
Yeah.
not-
They
I'm
didn't
not
chase
jumping
you
ship,
away.
so-
Yeah, that's good.
No,
We'll still
they
show
sure
up.
didn't.
You know, it was funny. I was thinking earlier today. I was like, you know what? When the game's out and we no longer have these monthly dev updates, I'm going to miss them a little bit. You know?
I do like the get together that it creates. Like
Yeah.
chat's a lot of fun for me. When I can chat is a lot of fun for me. And I got to chat quite a bit tonight, which was fun. But no, I hear you, Erica. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, one of the things we talk about on Pantheon PlusYou is you don't have to be blown away by everything. It's fine. You can come on the show and say you're disappointed with something or you want more, because that's what this is all about. Is we're trying to give everybody a voice, right? I don't think anybody who comes to this show needs to be questioned about their support of Pantheon, but we can all have different opinions on like how we feel about things for sure. Like elves are still in the game. I've been campaigning for this, Therek, for so long. And Drac
You
Attack
just need
said,
to pledge more for that to change.
if I get to make a quest, wait, how much is it to make a quest? If I make a quest where you go on this quest to eradicate the elves, then what? There's no limit, right? Is that a quest I can make? 10K. Okay, we're
You don't have
doing,
that
I don't have that kind of money, but we're going to do some kind of crowd Kickstarter, the End of Elves Kickstarter campaign. We're going to crowdfund it. Yep. And Drac Attack said to me, oh, well, they're getting rid of the rogues and the elves. Listen, if I have to sacrifice rogues for the betterment of this game, then it looks like I'm playing a warrior. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
you're serious.
Listen.
Yeah. Holy.
Okay. Well, Erica, thanks for jumping in, man. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time, hopefully.
Later,
Easy.
okay.
Talk to you later.
All right. What do you think? Let's bring in, want to get Vandrad in here?
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Vandrad, go ahead and unmute and unheadset yourself or whatever that is. We'll bring you in. Here he comes. Vandrad, what is up, man?
Hello. How are you two?
Good. So
I'm glad
what
to
did you
hear
vote? What did you vote on the poll, if you did? Or if you would, what were you?
Because I voted neutral. There were good things and there were bad things. I find it funny that so I'm a person who deals with contractual language on a daily basis. So how you phrase something is very, very important. And
Okay.
I find the language that VR uses to be quite funny in that they said that they were a week away from announcing when they were going to announce the shakeout. And I'm like, oh, okay. What? How do I parse that sentence out? What does that actually mean for when the shakeout is actually going to start?
Like,
So,
Hold on, I'm putting Ben Dean up on the screen. Ben Dean's looking at you right now, Vandrad.
Oh, of course he is. So it's kind of like, okay, and then we know that there's going to be a gap between the shakeout and when PA5 starts. I'm like, okay, so what does this mean then for quote PreAlpha 5 starting in summer? And I'm looking at the clock going, all right, we're hitting August, Saturday.
They're like, oh no, we meant summer in the other side of the world, like in Australia.
Yeah, it's summer.
Right.
Don't forget
Exactly.
Kilson. Who knows
Yeah,
what
that's
it's summer
right.
over
You're
there.
going by Kilson's calendar, so
Now that's
summer
what it is, right? Yeah, because he said that. Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that a few weeks in Australian is completely different than what it means here. So maybe that's where we've all been wrong here.
Yeah, that could be
knows?
centuries for all we know.
No, I hear what you're saying, Vandrada. Sometimes I feel like they're, they'd be very good if they had to like testify in court and they were like getting questions they didn't really want to answer, and they were like,
Oh my god, they would be brilliant at doublespeak.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And I just again, I look at this like, why do you need to wait a week to make the announcement that you're going to make an announcement? It's like, come on, what is going to change between now and a week from now, realistically, that would just say, all right, we're just going to tell you when it's going to start right now. No, you got to wait one more week to get that.
I mean, we've all been
Keep the
there,
hype
though.
train going.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, we know how it is when somebody asks you a question. You don't really you have to be careful what you say. You have to answer it in a certain way. I mean, we're just on the other end of it right now, right?
Or
Yeah,
you
we're
just
all
ask a
people.
question in chat where you almost get banned by Ben Dean right in the spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen,
Pretty much.
Ben, I'm sorry. Ronick, tell Ben I'm sorry, but I've never been in PreAlpha. So how do I know anything about PreAlpha? I've never tested it. I'm just going on what I've heard in the wild. So
Right.
Great.
So, all right. So the screenshots. I want to
Yeah.
go to the screenshots.
sure, I'm bringing
So
up.
put up the first one,
It's up.
and so we look. Okay, so we look at the tree that's in the middle. It's got those two purple vines on it that are
Mhm.
hanging down. Okay, now go to the third screenshot.
I
Now
love
they
what
say,
he's doing
oh,
here,
these are
look.
pictures from Fairthale. Okay,
Mhm.
and now I'm expecting screenshots from different locations in Fairthale. That's the same damn tree.
Well,
They
it's
just
Ronick.
moved over to the left 50 feet.
It's Ronick. He can't go too far. He'll be dead.
I know, but I'm like, I'm sorry, but that we have seen that same tree 1,000 times.
You
It's
can
like, come
take-
on.
Yeah,
All we've seen is about 50 square feet of Fairthale, and that's it. It's that tree and that little whatever thingy sitting right there.
Well, how about
And
the
I'm like,
second one? Is that the same
know
thing?
Like, oh, nobody will notice it. It's the same tree. And I'll bet you money that the second screenshot is he was at the first place and he turned to the right 90 degrees, and that is right down the hill.
yeah. It is definitely. They were trying to sort of say like these are different places, like different areas.
Yeah,
That
it's-
I know. I kind of thought the same. I'm like, man, I kind of think I know exactly where this is
Because,
we've seen it
you
before.
know, a long time ago, I worked as a photographer in politics, and one of the things that we
Oh,
had
boys,
to do
that
is when we
explains a
went out
lot.
and did, we had to go out and, get across the impression that these candidates were out doing things in the community for months and months and years, and you could always tell the guy who went out there in one day because he wore the same shirt and the same tie in 100 different pictures.
The evidence was
And
there.
I was always like, you need to bring 7 different ties, 3 different shirts, and 4 different jackets so we make it look like it's not all taking place in one day. This is all taking place in the exact same spot in that zone.
Yeah.
I truly do believe it's so that Ronick could stay alive. I think this area was safe.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I get it. They don't want to leak too much, and
Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, it's funny, but again, I look for these types of things just instinctively, and I go, oh, man, he just moved over 50 feet
Yeah.
and turned to the left, and oh, come on.
Yeah.
VR. Wait, Ronick is defending himself. Let's give him. He says, to be fair, the point of these images were to show progress to the area, not the same spot.
I
It's
get
not
it,
the
I
same spot.
understand.
He says it's not.
I know. It's just funny that it's that same, and there. Oh, is that same tree right there in that little bit? Oh, look at that! That's the same tree. Yeah, and I can tell because of those little stone formations to the right over
Mhm.
there by the other tree.
I know. I mean, Vandred, I did a whole video about this very scene that we're looking at, trying to place it in Fairthale. I know. Trust me, I've analyzed this a million times. You're right.
But the
I
point
get
of
what
this
Ronick is
all-
saying, too,
Don't get me
is
wrong.
correct.
The pictures are beautiful. I like it. It's great. The atmospherics are going to be wonderful. I can't wait to see it when it's actually moving, and I can look around and and see what it looks like, on a 35-inch widescreen monitor. These look impressive already, and it's just going to look more impressive later on when you can actually see it in person.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's funny. I wish I had Adobe open. I would change the color of the flowers from purple to red and be like, look, it's different.
Yeah, that's right. Different tree. Or just hit like a gamma filter or something like that, and skew the color balance on it.
Yeah. So Vandred, though, it does sound like you were pretty, neutral, but not let down, kind of excited to.
No. Again, so and speaking to the death penalty, I come from an EQ background. I was accustomed to the naked corpse run.
Mhm.
You know,
But is
the
this
true
bad?
penalty. But here, no, hold on. So the thing is, the true penalty in EQ1 wasn't the XP loss; it was the corpse run, because sometimes those could be very, very difficult and very long. You know, the old, plane of fear.
I kind of
nightmares that
disagree.
everybody talks about. Well,
Like
the
in
XP was-
in break-in areas, you're right. Like Plane of Fear, Plane of Hate, those areas. But in general, I think a lot of people just got corpse summoners to help them.
Yeah, but not in the very beginning. That wasn't a thing in the early days.
Especially when you had, not everybody had the bind spell. You didn't know where somebody was bound. You're running to bind someplace, and then you died 4 zones away, and suddenly now you're 9 zones behind where you started. The penalty was the run.
Mhm.
And VR is moving that penalty away from the corpse run and hopefully putting a more emphasis on the XP loss, including de-leveling, I hope, plus the durability loss and the cost for repairing if you have to go to an NPC.
The thing I look at with all that, so, and we could do forever, we're going to talk about this on the rewind. It's been talked about all week, so I won't spend a ton of time on it. But the piece of that I look at is that it's more game time playing your class like the way it should be played, having your gear with you when you respawn. And that's where I look at it and say that that's actually where I really side with it being a good idea, is that you're still going to want to get your corpse because clickies are going to be a thing. And you're not going to leave your J boots in the bank. Like, you're just not. You're going to want them.
No.
So you're going to go back to your corpse.
You can have other weapons and that sort of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Plus, your money is still there. Whatever money you had earned that evening out in the wild, it's going to still be there.
Plus, what if you got a great upgrade?
It's still going to be there.
Yep. If you got a great upgrade,
right.
you threw your second weapon in.
Definitely going to go back.
Yeah.
It's just the corpse run now is a little bit easier because it's literally just you're going back and you're fully geared.
But it's more engaging.
You still may lose your camp because somebody else could have moved in because you're now no longer there. So again, I just think the penalties are moved off to something else, and I'm okay with it. It just depends upon how that durability thing comes into play.
Yeah,
durability could be interesting if a group had to leave their camp.
Yeah, that's something that I thought about too, and I'm there with you, Vandra.
Could free up camps.
The durability thing is concerning for me, but I'm with like the corpse runs and stuff that they talked about, and I think we're on the same page with regard to it's the time sink. It's the time is the problem with those naked corpse runs, right? Like they can't make it the 4-hour experience anymore, and they talked about that on the stream tonight a little bit. They just said they wanted to make sure it was in line with their timelines that they want. They've talked about 2-hour gaming sessions more, in that general area. So I think that's where
Ben Dean is on the screen looking at you, Vandrad. He's saying you've had enough time. I'm just kidding. We got to move. That's the new you're out of time meme that we're gonna put up. No, I do appreciate it, Vandrad, but we got a pretty packed room. I don't want to keep everyone up all night. But dude, awesome. Thank you so much. Great topics, great talk. Neutral, good. I assume that's not too bad for you. I know
it's not bad at all.
Yeah,
okay.
Man, thank you for stopping by, man. I miss when you're not here all the time, but it's great to have you on these recap
I try
shows.
to make it whenever I can.
Thanks, buddy. Take it easy.
Bye.
Later. All
right, we're gonna get Hoye in because he's ranting and raving about durability and why he doesn't think it's worthwhile. So let's bring him in. I've had a lot of conversations around this, but Hoye, go ahead and unmute your mic and get your headset ready to go. Scribble, thank you so much, buddy, and welcome. Thank you for that subscription. So Hoye, we're bringing you in right now. What's up, Hoye? How are you?
What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
So before we get to your durability discussion, which we will give you time to talk about, give me just your overall feel of the dev stream.
It's good. It's not really that exciting for me because I'm kind of broke in PA5, so it's kind of like listening to my ex talk about our new boy toy.
Well put. Let's take
and
Ben off the screen. It's intimidating. I don't want to scare you while you're talking. Go ahead.
But no, I mean, it's good. I'm kind of mostly just watching PA5 to roll out, so I know, Alpha's right behind it. But I'm glad things are finally coming to fruition, I think, hopefully. here soon. I mean, I'll have to wait a week for the announcement, but
We're seeing progress. We are seeing progress towards towards the goal that they've given. So that's always encouraging.
The screenshots were good. I mean, I think they looked good. I'm really not that visually inclined that they kind of look as good as they did in the last stream that they did. I will say though that the screenshot with the water, I really wasn't all that impressed with how the water looked. Although I do think Ronik said that the water is still a work in progress, I think. But yeah, I just thought it was just kind of meh. But I mean, everything else looks great. The game is beautiful. There's no lie about that.
Agreed.
So let's talk death mechanics. That's what you wanted to jump in here and talk about. So go for it.
The durability thing. So first of all, let me backtrack and say I am a huge supporter that you spawn with your gear. I never actually had to do the EQ naked corpse run. But after hearing about it, I just thought it was just insane. Like, obviously, if I got my ass kicked deep down in a dungeon, fully geared, how am I gonna get back there naked? You know, and it kind of seems from what I've heard, you always had to pretty much depend on somebody else to get you through. And I understand it's an MMO and that kind of thing, but at the same time, like, I don't want to spend an hour or 2 hours, looking for help or something like that.
So give me 1 second because I want to comment on that because you brought up an amazing point. And Therek, jump in if you have any opinion on this. So one of the things I hear about that Naked Corpse Run is the social aspect, right? Like Pantheon's all about social aspect. That's a big social aspect, needing the group around you. Pantheon has so much built around the social aspect that it doesn't, I don't know if this is going to sound bad, but it doesn't have to be involved in every single detail. Like there's so much socialization in the game. It can be not in corpse runs. That's okay. You can't every single thing doesn't have to be involved in the social aspect because there's the base of the game is based around that. So I don't think we lose much in the social aspect taking corpse runs out. I understand the people that want that challenge. Yeah.
This still, even with this variation of it, it still maintains that social aspect, even because, like you said earlier, you're still going to want your corpse. It's just a matter of you can now manage to get to your corpse with some assistance rather than, having to rely on somebody to drag it all the way out from where it is, if they can even get to it, right? It's just, I don't think it removes that social element at all.
And also it kind of adds in different perspectives of that social element. So let's say I'm grouping with Therek one night and we die at the bottom of a cave or whatever, and we don't really feel like going back there, or we're tired or whatever, and so we just leave it. We'll get our stuff later. So I log on tomorrow and Minus is like, hey, you want to group up? I'm like, yeah, man, I can group. But look, either you got to spot me some coin to get some drinks and food and, repair my gear, or we got to go back to that cave and get my stuff first. So it kind of also brings in another aspect of it there too.
Yeah.
That's actually a great point.
That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Although I'm not helping you and I'm never giving you coin. So, I mean, you can give me coin and I'll go stealth in and grab your corpse. No problem there. But Minus is broke. Okay. So what is your point on durability?
So durability, I'm kind of I just don't know if it's going to be that impactful, because here's my thing. They've said that when you die, you go all the way back to your bind spot.
Yep.
Well, where's your bind spot going to be? It's most likely going to be in a big city or somewhere that has a mender. So you just die and then just hit the mender on your way out. And it's not really I just don't think it's going to be a big issue,
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to run into any durability problems and anything like that. So, I mean, unless it's just really expensive, then maybe, but.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that for it to be what they want it to be, it's going to have to be really expensive. And keep in mind, when you die, your corpse, what's on your corpse? Your money.
Joppa's hinting at some beans, guys. So, they won't openly talk about the binding system, but I want you to know that he just said, when you said you're always going to be binding a city, he just said not necessarily true. So
okay,
we're going to learn more about the bind spot. So
I did think about that. I was like, well, I wonder how many bind spots there are. And if there are a lot of bind spots that are outside of the city, well, then the run is not going to be nearly as long or tedious, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, if they don't put menders everywhere except for the big cities, and that's one another aspect of it too, you know. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna have to see how it plays out, I guess.
Yeah.
It's here's my big thing is I'm going to take like the durability argument. I'm going to take the most simplistic approach to it that I can. Anything that gets money out of the economy is good. And even and here's the thing, like a lot of people have said like, well, durability is not fun, or this or naked corpse runs aren't fun, and dying's not supposed to be fun. You don't want to die. Like nobody dies. I'm like, well, that was a good old time. Like I'd like another slice of that. I durability to me can be punishing, like from a cost perspective. But at the end of the day, like let's say I'm making up numbers, guys. Let's say 15 platinum's a lot of platinum in the early days. Okay, let's say that's a lot of platinum. And you have a full set of pretty good gear on, and it costs you a platinum. That's a big deal. And taking that out of the economy and putting it into a vendor is a big deal. Or as they've kind of hinted at it being something that a crafter can do, it's taking materials out of the economy. Because there's like, when you think about economy, and that's why I went really big on my transmog video that everybody hates me about. But like the big thing is economy. We have a game economy where we're not taking items out naturally. So we need to have item removal, or else the value of the items are going to drop. And we have to take money out of the economy, or else everything's going to end up being just tons and tons of platinum, and it's just going to be silly. I would love to see for the entirety, like, hey, one of the best items in the game is, 50 platinum instead of 50,000, right? So we need to be able to take things out of the economy for that to happen. And that's items, that's money, and whatever else we can, it needs to come out of the economy. So if that's just a small piece of it, I'm all for that, as silly as it sounds. A lot of people have called that lazy. I don't agree with that. I think it makes sense. I jokingly said, if people are upset that when you die, you take a bigger hit to your death penalty, well, then make the character animations of the NPCs when all your corpses are laying there. Just make the NPCs go up with hammers and hit your corpses a bunch of times. Like, well, that's why my armor's no good anymore. Whatever we need to do for the immersion aspect. What are we calling that again? I forget. We came up with a new term.
Ambiance? Something ambiance.
Defending the ambiance. I don't know. But so I'm okay with it because I do think we need to have syncs, and they're not fun, but yeah.
But then it also can't be static too, though, because how many games have you played that, they're like 5-10 years later down the road, and the repair bill is like nothing because everybody has millions of plats too, You know who
actually did that well? And people are gonna get mad at me is WoW. It got super expensive when you would raid a lot.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, super, super expensive. You had top tier gear in WoW, it was really expensive. Well, for someone like me who's broke all the time. But so it would be, you're right. It definitely has to scale. Like repairing your level 5 robe can't cost the same as your level 50 crazy thing. I agree.
But even just throughout the expansions too, though, because, if you had the same price when, the game is only a year old and nobody has that much money compared to 10 years old, when everybody just has heaps of money because everything is cheap now,
Awesome. Anything else?
No, that's good, and I'm looking forward to next week when they announce PA5. So exciting.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying too. Like the people who aren't in PA5, here's what I can tell everybody: is it's a step closer to Alpha. There's a lot of people in the community in Alpha compared to PA5. So fingers crossed we get closer to that, because that's where really that's going to be where there's a ton of excitement, because there's so many Alpha backers. So
100%.
All right, Hoye, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Cheers, dude.
All right, Thorndeep, let's bring you in next. I see your microphone and headset are muted. If you want to go ahead and fix that for me. And as soon as I see those drop off in Discord, we will bring you in. So Thorndeep, that is you. There he is. Here he comes. Hey, Thorndeep, how are you?
I'm great. Yourself?
Doing good, man. What'd you think of the stream tonight?
I really, really liked it. I know people said, I feel like the energy was very low key. But to me, that really spoke about how focused they are on bringing us PA5.
Yeah.
That all their energy and attention is getting it out.
Yeah.
That's a good point. They're working themselves to the point of exhaustion, and then they come on the stream. They're like,
really, that's what I saw. Some, 3 gentlemen working their butts off. to get this game. And the other thing that spoke to me too, especially when they showed the screenshots, was, and I've gotten a sense of this, but it became really clear watching this, is here are people that not want to bring a game that they themselves would be passionate about playing.
Yeah.
So they're like trying to create a triple A product
For a niche crowd.
Right, exactly.
Good point.
And every topic they talked about showed that. First, we get this screenshot that's just, to me, was stunningly beautiful. And when I looked around, I was like, I want to explore every inch of this place. Like, I want to climb up there. I'm already mapping out 10 different places that I want to check out. And if the whole world is like that, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, and every time I've heard Joppa speak, I get the sense, what you said, I think you said it well, was that he wants to make a game that he would want to play, that he would be interested in playing. And the only thing I would add that when they were talking about, mentioned perfection, they want it to be perfect before it is released into the world, before it's, and I've learned, in life that, perfection's and it really is an impossible standard. It'll never be perfect. And they talked about, testing, that when we get to alpha testing and we do the beta testing and all that phase, we're getting it to that place of perfection. And, if you ask me, I think it's never going to be perfect, because I think his standards are so high. Because I've struggled, not, in my life to lower my expectations sometimes, just to get to a point where it can be, where I have to get something done, and I'm not saying, like, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not saying lower their expectations, lower their standards. It's just, you hear somebody with very high standards speak, that it's how important this is. Right. So.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, there's, as any good writer will say, they never finish a story, they abandon it.
Yeah.
And,
George R.R. Martin, what?
What?
George R.R. Martin, what?
Yeah. So
please, VR, never be George R.R. Martin. Like, please.
But they are putting these milestones, and they are getting stuff done, and we are seeing it. And they mentioned, like, how the combat, to me, my takeaway was that they've somehow completely revamped the combat system since we've seen it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I actually want to get into that. I'll wait a minute here, but I want to get into that because that's something very important.
I mean, I think that's huge. Again, it's the idea of what we had before, what the testers tested wasn't intriguing, or they've announced LAS. Well, it didn't somehow work into the LA system enough. We need to make it more engaging, and they feel like they have. And to me, again, that's hugely exciting that they've come to a product that they think is really going to challenge and push us. And that's, again, we haven't necessarily seen that before, but now we're going to have it. And to me, that speaks to a huge amount of work. And then I understand, like, well, now I understand why there was this huge gap. The combat system wasn't up to the standard that they wanted, and they had to tweak and find, figure out a way to get it there. And now they feel like they have. So to me, that's hugely exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is what I heard too. They said they've major change to the combat system, overgone a major change to the combat system. So interested.
Right.
So before I rant and rave, Thorndeep, anything else you want to add? Because I want to talk a little bit about that, because there's something very important there that people may not realize, and I want to talk about that in a minute here. But before I do, is there anything else you wanted to comment on the stream?
Well, again, the granular, the faction system and how it's going to be more granular than we're used to, I thought was really exciting news. And again, it just shows the web of complexity that they're building into this game, that you look over, you're intrigued by what you see, you go over there, you meet someone, and this person off the beaten path may be have their own little faction that you can work on building to gain access to somewhere else.
Yeah.
To me is huge. Again, it's just the level of complexity that they're creating, I think, is astounding. So I could go on, but I've spoken enough tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, Thorndeep, thank you. And thanks for the wait there. I know it's getting a little long for people who haven't come on the green room yet, but thanks for sharing, man. Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good night, all.
You too.
See you, Thorndeep.
Okay, so we have two different people who do a lot of developing and background work that are in our green room right now. And I'd like to do something a little different. I would like to bring Lexer and Zinix in at the same time when I talk about this topic. What do you think? We can get crazy here. We can get crazy.
Do it.
So Zinix, if you want to unmute your mic and your headset, Lexer, you're already ready. I want to bring both you guys in. I want to talk about something kind of important, and I really want your guys' takes on it. Then I'll give you guys the opportunity as well. So Zinix is coming in now, and Lexer, you're coming in as well. So this is the first time I think we've brought multiple people in at once. Welcome into both of you guys.
How's it going?
There you go.
Choppa just said, all is well. I've been told I have a very intense resting face. Okay, so here's what I wanted to talk about. Thorndeep brought up something really important. You guys have both done a ton of development work in all kinds of different ways. So I'd really like you guys to dissect what I'm saying a little bit, if you don't mind. Sorry to put you on the spot for that, but here's something I want to discuss. Pantheon had all their abilities designed in a certain way up to about, do we want to say 4 months ago? Maybe 5. And then they showed that new system, and the only class that was done was the Shaman. And that Shaman had the new node system where they had to, like, the ability system was now separate from the networking system. And that was a pretty big statement that I think maybe a lot of people just kind of glossed over it, which is understandable because it's very tech speak, right? So what they were saying is in the past, everything in the game was developed with the networking code kind of layered on it. And Zinix, I know you know all about this. I think we've had to talk about this with Vanguard back in the day. But so they had, everything was kind of like when you wanted to change something here in the ability section, just randomly, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, the net code, you had to worry about that too, right? So if you made a big change here, it could affect the net code. So now you're effectively having to work on two systems where you effectively probably have 2-3 people working on one thing together, which means that you're taking up resources specifically in a very small company to really get one thing done. So while it might be one person's specialty, the other ones are just being kind of wasted. They're not able to do their specialty. So what they did is they when and I'm completely blanking on his name, and that is awful. But when the guy came in and completely changed all the coding and cleaned it all up and fixed everything. You know who I'm talking about?
Jason.
Yes, Jason.
Right?
Jason. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jason. My apologies. But when he came in, he cleaned up a lot of the code. And what they did is they separated the net code and the programming code, and they got into this node-based system. And that was, I'm very, very roughly saying that we were kind of told about that maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Kyle, thank you, Joppa. And Kyle, I'm sorry. So when that happened, they had to now take this brand new system, which was going to help them in the long run. They need to implement all of the game's abilities, every single one of them into this system. It only took like 3 or 4 months to get every single ability in the game with this new system. That's really important. That's really important for the future. That's really important for what's coming. The ease of taking these abilities and throwing them in, and now they're doing it with all the NPCs also in this short period of time. I think that sometimes the tools side of it and what tools enable you to do from a development aspect are sort of overlooked. So I'm going to stop talking now because I've said my point. Therek, I don't know if you want to add on it.
No.
But Lexer, Zinix, you guys work on this kind of thing all the time where like when it's not efficient, it's so much harder. Zinix, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on that? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all on this. If you can, the more modular you can make your system, the easier it's going to be. When you have so many systems integrating directly into other systems, when you make a change to one system, it's going to affect the other ones. And then it's going to cascade at that point. I changed something here, it's affecting this system, I got to change this system. Well, now it just affected this system. If you can go to a more modular, pretty much a node-based system, you can, how can I put this?
it's basically just more efficient, and you can make changes without having to worry about completely other parts of the system that, oh, look, this is done. I don't need to touch this again. Which, yeah, you definitely don't want to get into.
So good to make that decision now and build all those tools before you get stuck. Because me and you talked extensively about one of the things that took Vanguard down was it was a mess. Like you told me, like the database structure they used to build that game was, I remember you saying you were pulling your hair out at times trying to rebuild some of that.
I'm still pulling my hair out.
Awesome. And I'll get back to you here, Zenix, in a second. Lexer, you have been parts of various different, programming and stuff. So what are your thoughts? Do you echo the same things? I mean, have you been in situations where it's a mess and you're constantly struggling with not just what you want to do, but the fact that the way the code is written, it's not letting you?
Well, the key to programming, and this is usually what I tell everyone that wants to get into programming, the key is to be lazy. You want to do as little code as possible to make the biggest impact possible. And that's kind of what they've done. So you do a lot of work up front, but now when all is said and done, they're going to be able to make very small changes that don't take a lot of time. And they'll see that change cascade throughout the system. That's great. It's just there's a lot of setup time that most non-programmers or developers in general won't really come to understand. And to give you an example of what happens when you don't do things like this early, I've been sitting in this chair for roughly 30 hours, give or take, with some bathroom breaks.
Hopefully there's not a little, what are those called? The little circular pot beside you.
I've been sitting here for roughly 30 hours, and I've been revamping caching system and an asset delivery system. Because it's code that I did years ago. And I never thought it would ever go any further than a quick little program. And yet here I am now with my eyes on fire, wishing someone would just shoot me. VR's doing their due diligence to save themselves an awful lot of pain in the future.
Yeah. And I just think it says, like, when you have the right tools, I think it talks a lot about the future of what the game's going to be able to do and the speed at which they'll be able to progress. There's a lot of people I think that have said, wow, it's been a long time between pre-alpha phase. Look, that's the truth. That it's not a knock saying the truth. That's what's happened. It's been a while.
Depends on who you are.
True.
If you're on the development team with a laundry list of things that have to be done,
true.
It's
You've been busy.
Not long at all.
So Zenix, jumping back to you, what were your thoughts on the stream tonight? Where's your head at with where things are right now?
I thought it was a good stream. I think they are making a good compromise on the death penalty, with you still keeping your gear, but all your inventory is being left there. Especially if they want to keep where somebody can go in and play 2-3 hours and accomplish something. I think this is a good compromise. Mm-hmm. You're still going to want to get your stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to leave their stuff. They're like, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Even a bag. Like, I'm going to have to pay for another
especially
bag.
bags.
Even everything you've looted, like if you're deep in a dungeon, everything you've looted up to that point, you're not wearing it, like unless you've equipped it already. But
and if you've equipped it, then the other gear you had, which is sellable, is a lot of value. Like if you had a good sword and you replaced it, you want to take that sword back to sell it. You're not going to leave it there.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to expand on this a little bit with the experience loss. With their motto or their vision that they want to kind of follow, where you can do something in 2 to 3 hours. Let's say on average, a person gains 20% experience in 2 to 3 hours. Now, when you die and they put an experience loss in there, are they going to take 10, 15% of that? I don't know.
Here's what, this was actually interesting. I wrote this down during the stream. They talked about the XP loss because there was some misconceptions about that. So what they said was it's the percent of the total amount needed to get to the next level, not the amount personally that you need at that moment, the amount of the total that you would need if you were starting from 0 and say level whatever, right?
It's an interesting take.
Yeah.
So, they're basing it off of the total amount of experience needed to ding, basically, versus how much you have.
Level. Yeah, exactly.
So if you had 100 experience, but it took 1,000 to get to the next level, it would be based off of that 1,000,
yes,
not the 100.
Exactly. I thought that was interesting.
Which, you know what's funny when you say that? Maybe there is de-leveling.
It sounds like it is a possibility. I'm not going to say for certain that it is, because they might get to the point where you don't have any
face up
level, and just
we were talking about it.
You don't lose any more past here. I mean, it's been done before.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're either gonna do some type of debt. They don't do a debt experience or experience debt. With the way they phrase that, you would have to de-level. Let's say you're only 100 experience in, and this level takes 100,000. They say they take 10%. That's going to put you in the negative. They don't de-level you that. If they don't have a debt experience debt, then there's going to be a de-leveling.
Right.
You can't hit 0
unless there's a hard stop.
So I came up with this idea. Yeah, I came up with this idea to combat de-leveling. Because so the thing that de-leveling does well is makes that part of the death penalty at max level important. Because if there is no de-leveling, then experience loss becomes meaningless at max level. That's the issue with it. The real issue when we talk about death penalty and losing experience and de-leveling is simply that end level, you've hit max, you don't want to take a part of the death penalty out, right? I think we can all agree that's where our heads are for the most part. Because as you're leveling, de-leveling is not a big deal because you're constantly fighting 2 levels, so it's constantly working against you. But when you're max level, it's not working against you. So that's where it's like, well, that's going to change the whole death penalty and the severity of it. And I get that and I understand it. So what if, this was my thought, I got into a big discussion in the Pantheon Plus Discord about this, and some people actually liked it. So this is a little outside the box. But what if when you got to level 50, you could still get to a capped experience in level 50, right? You're not going to level, but you can cap your experience in level 50. And when you did, whatever class you were, had a special buff that you got when you were full experience at max level. So when you die, you're going to lose that. And it's some kind of special buff. I don't know how powerful it is. I'm not getting into all the balancing issues with it. But you had some kind of thing you got at max level full experience. So when you did wipe, you lost it. And you got to fight to get it back. If there isn't de-leveling, I think that's a way where when you're capped at max level, that could mean something. So when you do die, you want it back. But again, it's kind of just an outside the box idea, but that's something you could do. Because I think the biggest problem and the reason people want de-leveling is just simply for max level. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's an interesting concept. I don't think we'll see anything like that in Pantheon simply because being a spiritual successor to EverQuest and Vanguard, respectively, a lot of those players are very used to the way that system worked. And having, like I say, a 99% bar at level 50 or whatever max level is, there's always a reason to get that, even if you were max level, because if you were a hardcore raider, you could be looking dozen deaths in the coming week if you're breaking in new content. And at max level, that's where it's the hardest to gain experience theoretically. So each death would technically take you longer to regain, unless some other form of XP recovery is.
Yeah, I got you. I understand what you're saying. All right, so thank you guys for humoring me on my point there at the beginning and kind of tossing you both into that. Final thoughts, Zinix, for the stream? Enjoyed it? Are you happy with where they're at right now? Where's your excitement level at?
I did excited. I'm always excited to hear updates about how Pantheon's coming along. The game I'm really looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Where's Nathan for every day we're a step closer, right?
That's right. Exactly. Perspective.
Lexer, how about you?
I'm sorry, what was that? I zoned out. I've been sitting here too long.
You're good. I said just overall like excitement. You still excited? Are you what are you thinking?
For Pantheon, I'm always going to be excited. For this particular neutral, because with the death penalties, I saw them coming. It was fairly obvious to a lot of folks.
And Brad kind of commented on that in the past too.
Yeah.
Right. It's when you spend so long following a game and following the people who are making the game, you can't help but kind of feel like you can kind of ride the same thought patterns every now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the no items coming. And the thing is that all those penalties are very telling because, I mean, corpse recovery is a thing. Well, if we are still looking at staying within that 2 hour of a productive session, there's going to have to be some way to get corpses back faster than having to fight all the way through.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And it's possibly looking at Rez's returning experience as well, because the same thing. Let's say you have a bad run in Black Rose Keep. Just train after train after train. If you still want that to be a productive session, you're going to have to get a high level clarity. You don't end your session in the negative.
I agree.
It's a little more work, but it's still possible.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you both. I appreciate it so much for jumping in and again humoring me on that development speak, since I'm just doing it from the outside, but you guys actually know from the inside. So thank you for that. We're going to go with Nefel next, and we'll wrap up with Drac. I know you've been waiting for a while, guys. I appreciate it, but we're kind of on pace. It's only about a 1.5 hour mark right now, so we're right there. Thanks, Lexer. Thanks, Linux.
See you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's go ahead and Nefel, as soon as you're ready, which it looks like he is, I'm going to bring him down now. And I just moved myself out. Man, I'm not. I just moved myself out and left you with Lexer.
Where'd you go? I can't hear you anymore.
I left Lexer. That's hilarious. I'm bringing Nefel in now. Hey, Nefel, what's up? I went up into the chat. I took myself up and I left Therek in here with Lexer.
Oh, don't do that. I'm scared. Yikes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to be in a room alone with Lexer either.
No.
So what's up, Nefel? I mean, I saw you voted excited for everything. What are your thoughts on some of the topics that were covered tonight?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I'm still generally very excited for Pantheon, and the stream didn't, I was excited coming into the stream, and I'll say the stream didn't really move the needle one way or the other for me. Like, I left just as excited as I was coming in.
That's good. Yeah.
I think part of that is that I'm very active on the forums and in the discords, and so a lot of what they talked about tonight was stuff that they'd already either hinted at or had outright said. But it was still good to see them kind of take time to talk about it in the stream. As you guys know, the death penalty thing was a big debate last week. It's been a debate in the community for a long time, but with the announcement last week, it was definitely a big area where a lot of people voiced their opinions. So it was good to see them take the time to address that. As far as what I'm most excited about in the stream was the beam that they dropped about Silent Plains. Really can't wait to see Silent Plains.
I know.
It's a zone we've never seen before. So yeah.
Not even a peek, not a screenshot, not nothing. I know.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason we even know it exists is because it's on the Atlas.
That's right.
So, that's gonna be pretty cool.
And who knows if it's even there, wherever it is on the Atlas at this point.
Yeah.
The other thing they said about the Silent Plains too, just quickly, they talked about it in the context of the lore piece being worked on for the website, and they sort of connected it to when they were talking about Silent Plains. So I could be totally off, but what I heard was that we have some, they like to give those like lore overviews of areas, So maybe we have something coming from lore for Silent
And they
Plains.
threw out there that we're gonna have the lore roundtable. They put that out there. That tomorrow night the VIP roundtable is gonna be with our lore expert, Therek's Icon.
Kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I think I can share this without getting in too much trouble, but you know, the VIP community pesters Kilson and Ronik and others on the team pretty frequently for what we would like to see in upcoming roundtables, and we have been asking for a lore roundtable for years.
That's awesome.
So it's really, really cool that we're finally going to get one, and it's going to be really, really hard not to talk about it for a week until it's available to everyone.
I will be waiting desperately to hear about that when it comes out for the rest of us non-VIPs. But thank you for pestering them to get Jan Gerhardt on the VIP roundtable. That's going to be so good.
Yeah. I know sometimes people get like this sort of, you know, they feel like VIPs are in on super secret information, but the reality is that the vast majority of the VIP community is really just there pushing on VR to release information to everybody.
Yeah.
It's true.
You know, hey, you know, we don't necessarily want to know secrets. We want you to start talking to the entire community about things. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
awesome.
What do you think about the like very subtle, small discussion about crafters are going to be able to repair gear, but in some different way?
I was happy that Japo sort of took the time to say that, and specifically to say that it was going to be different from usual. And the reason for that, and you know, you've heard it from a bunch of other people on the show tonight, but I don't want to see durability done as it has been done in other games. I do think that it can be a very effective money sink, and that's important. But the challenge that we have seen in a lot of other games is that it either becomes trivial to players over time, or that it puts crafters into a position of being repair kit dispensers. And neither of those is really a desirable situation. The thing that I say every time anybody will listen to me about Pantheon is what I really want to see Pantheon do is take some of these things that we've taken for granted in the genre and really start to evolve them. And so I would love to see a take on durability that, you know, A, makes it something that people have to care about throughout their lifetime in the game, but B, also actually adds adventure to the game. Sorry about the dog.
Yeah, your post on the forums, Nafel, is excellent. When I know what your idea is for this because you posted, and I think it's such a detailed idea. I'm actually going to talk about it on the rewind this weekend a lot, and because I wanted to hear what people thought of it and the reactions. And there's such a good discussion that's gone on over there about what you're saying about how to evolve the idea of durability and item durability. I think you've got it. I think you've really got a good idea there, and I'm kind of with you that it's not good in other games. There's big problems with it in other games, and I hope they don't make the same sort of design decisions that have been made in some other games when it comes to durability.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and this is true for durability and almost any other system that you see me theorycraft on. I tend to think about what gameplay should be like in sort of cinematic terms. So I think about it like if I were reading a book or watching a movie where the characters in that book or that movie were doing these things, how would that be described to me? Like, what would I see them do on the screen, or what would I read them do on the pages? You know, and so I think about like how many times have you read a fantasy book or something where the quest was about actually going to repair some great item of power so that it could be used to defeat like the great evil or whatever. We should be looking at MMOs to recreate those kinds of experiences for the players in them. It shouldn't just be about, hey, we're all going to go hack down this week's monster, but it should really be about, spurring adventures and, this is a little geeky of me, but sort of evolving this narrative of the player's actions in the game. And so anything that can be evolved to do that better, I think that's a really great thing.
Yeah.
It's a great take.
Yeah.
That's a great take that you don't... Game of Thrones, how many times did people go get their armor fixed? Maybe once.
Well, when they did, it was a big storyline, though. I think is the point that Fel's making there is that, if you're going to put something like this in the game, make it worth your time. Make it something that you're interested in doing. Don't just make it a, one button time sink a gold sink, like a lot of games do.
Yeah, make it something that's part of the adventure.
Yeah.
So the other aspect of the death penalty, I mean, we've talked about the death penalty all night, and I agree with what a lot of other people have said. I'm definitely concerned about how it plays out at max level. I was telling Vandred earlier that I think it's, as it's written right now, it's probably fine for people leveling up. But when you hit max level, that's where we really have to evaluate, is it enough, or does it maybe need to do a little more? And how does that just work out? But the other piece about it that Joppa kind of hinted at was bind locations. One of the challenges that we saw in EverQuest was that, all the casting classes could bind themselves pretty much wherever they wanted. Whereas all the melee classes were very limited in where they could bind. And what that led to over the years, not definitely not at first, but over the years, was people taking advantage of that system to sort of trivialize the corpse run aspect, or doing things like binding themselves right out the boss room so that they could summon the raid back if the raid wiped and things like that. I think it's really, really important that Pantheon sort of learns the lessons of the past there and implements something that's, first of all, fair to all players, regardless of which class they're playing. But secondly, that doesn't allow players to trivialize or bypass content just as a consequence of how they've implemented that bind location system. So really interested to see what they have planned for that when they're ready to talk about it.
And it sounds like Joppa really knows where he wants to go with that, but he doesn't want to spoil it just yet, because this is the face right there. That's the Ben knows. Don't say anything, Joppa. Joppa wants to say something. We're gonna be using that picture a lot. This picture's gonna be here for. I'm totally getting off topic because I love this picture. Look at all three of them. Like, we keep talking about Ben and Joppa, but look at Ronik doing all this, just laughing.
Oh, yeah, he's got that shit-eating grin on his face. It's awesome. Yeah, this is like the Pantheon 2020 meme right here.
Yeah,
like
it.
This is the meme template. Anything you want to add to it, this is it.
Yeah, little speech bubbles for just comments. So that's perfect. Nefel, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. I think you brought up a really good point there with the journey part. Like, I don't know where I stand, because I agree with you 100%. Like, make things meaningful. But I guess I don't know if it's just accepting where things are or accepting certain things. I think that for me, it's like there's certain things I'm just not going to like. I'm okay with it. Right. Like, so. And I don't know when that becomes me accepting too much that I don't like versus challenging it. So that I don't know. And I could get into a deep discussion about that. But like, for me, I'm fine. Like, I'm always broke. Like, I'm not rich in MMORPGs. I never am. One time in BFA, something happened and I became one of the richest people, and cool. Right. But outside of that, I'm always broke. So like, repair costs suck for me. Like, repair costs for me, like, we would raid, and when we would wipe for 3 straight hours on a boss, I was broke. I had no gold after, like, none. So like, and I know some people are saying, oh, well, in WoW you had millions of gold and it was only, a couple hundred. Wrong. It was way more than a couple hundred. And no, I never had millions of gold. So it just depends. So like, I guess where repair costs has been for me, it was punishing. But that was doing raiding, not so much outside of that. So, and that's where maybe my end game mentality comes in and kicks in, where we're trying to get away from that in Pantheon, and I do understand that. So,
yeah, well, it's been really lopsided in a lot of games. Like, I've heard plenty of raiders in many games get really, they have a really terrible experience with repair costs because of the same reason that you did. And then everybody that doesn't raid is like, "What do you mean? This is nothing." There's just got to be a better way to balance it. I feel like it's an opportunity. Along with many other things, it's an opportunity to sort of move these things closer to what the vision of an MMORPG really is, which is a place where you can go and you can have adventures with other people, and it can be fulfilling and meaningful and exciting all at once. And it's not just a game that you're playing to get to the end or get the shiniest thing or whatever else. We like to look down on immersion sometimes, but if there's an opportunity to make something more immersive and more fun, and at the same time also balance it better and make it more fair, then I feel like VR should take it.
Yep, that's a good point. Nefel, thank you. Sorry it took so long to get you on tonight, but thanks for sticking in there with us tonight.
No worries. I got my voice back while I was waiting. Have a good one, guys.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah, later, man.
All right, we usually start with Drac because he's always in here early, but today we're ending with Drac. So Drac, when you're ready, he looks like he's ready. We'll bring him in. Drac had an amazing picture today of Joppa's Bean Shop. Joppa, I hope you saw that. What's up, Drac? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you guys?
I'm doing awesome,
well,
man. So what'd you think of everything?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I don't want to ever follow Nefel again. Like that, it's cruel.
Well, it is a tough act to follow. I'm not going to lie, but you're good. You got it. You're good. We were just talking about your artwork from earlier today, your Photoshop work of Joppa's Bean Store and how awesome it was. And I liked that, even to find out when PA5 was, to find out the cost of that bean, you couldn't even get that information. You had to talk to the manager for that information.
I'm pretty sure that was typical of their answer they gave today too.
Yeah, sort of reflective on the stream that we saw, right? It's a little bit like announcement next week of when the announcement will be, and so yeah.
As far as the stream went, I thought it was fantastic because not confirming or denying anything, I may or may not be in PreAlpha, and so
You're not confirming anything.
Not confirming or denying anything, but I'm really excited that is super close, and so I'm super excited about that. But everything else was gravy after that.
Awesome. So you're still just as excited as you always were then?
Yeah, pretty much. I did like I thought the graphics are looking really good too. I just keep going back to, I would have played this game with the graphics of 2 years ago, right? I was prepared to do that. I thought that it was going to be okay because the gameplay was going to be good, which I think it still is, but the graphics weren't going to be that great, but I was okay with playing with those graphics. And what they look like now is really a AAA MMO graphics. Like it's just as good as WoW. It's just as good as any other MMO that's going to be released in the next 4 to 5 years. I think they're doing a great job with that, and it's really exciting that it's going to be mainstream. Hey, no.
Yeah, it's a tall order, but everything we see lets us, leads us to the conclusion that they're gonna meet their standards, which are obviously very high graphically, at least.
Now, Drac, did you want to talk about how you got this screenshot, in before the stream? I mean, this wasn't even released. Do you know how did you get this screenshot that's up on our screen right now?
Well, JJ, I don't even know how to say his name, and you were talking on the Pantheon Plus Discord, and you wanted, I think, Joppa's House of Beans or something like that. And so I did some cartoons earlier. So I took the face I already had of Joppa, stuck it on a Cartman or whatever. Why am I blanking on what?
Yeah, we got
very South Park. Yeah,
South Park. No, it's literally from South Park. That's what I was blanking on. Stuck it on a South Park character and filled in all the stuff. So.
Yeah, it's pretty funny here because he has different kinds of beans, like racial passives, which we talked about tonight. It's $1 per class for those beans. It looks here, progeny. Joppa, this is how we can get more funding. We just got to price the beans out. Progeny system, black beans, those are $3 per bean. We have the new website, coffee beans. Those are $5 per bean. But I love here that the PA5 date jelly beans, you have to actually ask a manager for the price. So I do like that quite a bit. That's good. Drac, you never disappoint with stuff like this. That's why I pinged you. I'm like, someone needs to make this. I'm like, Drac, let's go. Get it done. So love it, man. Love it. It's great stuff.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I love doing that type of stuff. It's fun to just throw it together.
And guys, he puts a ton of stuff on. If you don't follow Drac already, he does his Pantheon profiles. He does some hilarious things on Twitter. Follow Drac Attack on Twitter. He's a good follow, and he's all Pantheon. So definitely follow
PantheonBlog.com, right?
Yep.
That is correct.
Well, Drac, thank you so much, man, for stopping by, and thank you for everything you do for the community as well, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Love the show tonight. Love the dev stream. Everything's all good. See you guys later.
Take it easy, man.
See you, Drac.
All right, Therek. Well, another dev recap. I voted that I'm excited. I would say I'm somewhere in between excited and neutral. I'm going to stay there because otherwise I almost got banned, I guess, from saying that I asked about how long we're going to get to be in PA5. But in all fairness, before I signed an NDA, I put on Twitter and in a video that I upped my pledge. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's already out there.
Yes, that speaks volumes.
Guys, please start thinking of that name I'm going to need to have because I'm going to have to go incognito. You're going to have a little South Park character on screen. Addition is going to be talking to you guys from now on instead of minus. Thank you to the community. We are at 599 followers. If there's anyone out there who hasn't followed us yet,
One more, man.
I will
One
bribe
more.
you. I will bribe you for it. But no, thank you to everybody who's following us on all the different social media stuff, guys. 2 years ago, I didn't do any of this stuff. Like I didn't know how to do any of this. I didn't know you, Therek.
No.
I was thinking about our, why Pantheon video and and you were in that and we didn't know each other. You just submitted, and we never talked really. And it's just really crazy, guys. Like this isn't like a career at all. I spend way more money than I would ever make doing this. It's super fun. And it's really humbling. Like I don't say that to try to win you guys over to get points because I made a transmog video that would lose you guys anyway. I say it because like I never thought we would be here. I never thought I'd have a partner like I do in Therek. I never thought you guys would want to hang out with us and chat. Like this is to me, community is about, I have so much fun doing this. As a guy who moves around the country and, I don't get to make a lot of friends because I've moved and a lot of my friends are online. Like this is the coolest thing in the world. You guys have replaced raid nights for me, which were like my favorite things in the world when I played WoW, with Discord chats, with joking back and forth, with bickering back and forth, with all these opinions on something we all love as we sit here and we theory craft about what VR is going to do. That's what community is. And I had this discussion and I'm not going to keep ranting. I'm going to let you go, Therek, here in a second. But I had this discussion with someone the other day. They said, I pledged, $200, 5 years ago. This is ridiculous. I said, you know what? You got that money's worth. The amount of time you've spent in a Discord talking about this game, the amount of times you've bickered or debated or eaten up hours of your day, of your life, there is so much that we've gained from a community aspect, which we wouldn't have paid for in advance. Don't get me wrong. If someone's like, hey, do you want to be part of a community that fights and talks about stuff all the time and is waiting for a long time? It's only $200. Nobody would do that. But what we've gotten out of this journey is awesome. So thank you guys for that. I do appreciate it greatly. Therek, thank you for always being at my side. Thanks to everyone in Pantheon Plus who helps. Very, very humbled. Super, super humbled by your guys' support. By you guys subbing to us, following us, retweeting us. Like, thank you. We hope that we're helping with community. That's what it's all about for us. And you guys make that happen. Don't ever forget that. So thank you to everybody who was in the green room tonight. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Lighten it up, Therek. Thank you. And with that, I got nothing else. You got anything, Therek?
No. Everything you said, just ditto.
All right. Well, let's go ahead.
Everybody some time.
Let's go ahead and roll out. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.